Fragments of a biblical scroll, along with other relics, have been found in desert caves in Israel. Dozens of pieces of parchment were written in Greek, with just the name of God appearing in Hebrew.
The Bible, thought to be 1,000 years old.
For thousands of years, ancient texts have offered glimpses into the beliefs and knowledge of past cultures. Manuscripts like the Book of Enoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls give us insight into biblical stories and Hebrew traditions from over 5,000 years ago. The Book of Enoch in particular describes heavenly visions of angels, fallen beings called the Nephilim, and prophecies that expand our understanding beyond just the canonical books. Thanks to archaeological discoveries beginning in the 1940s, manuscripts like the Dead Sea Scrolls brought the Book of Enoch back to scholars after centuries of being excluded from the biblical canon. As we uncover more of these ancient voices from the past, our comprehension of history expands, revealing how cultures sought to make sense of their existence. In this video, we'll explore some of these remarkable manuscripts and what they can teach us. The Book of Enoch is one of the oldest known religious texts in Hebrew history. Carbon dating has estimated the original manuscripts were composed as far back as 5,000 years ago, giving us a rare glimpse into the beliefs and scriptures of ancient people long ago. The Book of Enoch offers intriguing insights that go beyond the stories recounted in the biblical canon. It explores profound theological themes around the very origins of evil. Specifically, it delves into the narrative of fallen angels who descended to earth and purportedly mixed their genes with human women, giving rise to the monstrous offspring known as the Nephilim. This transgression of heavenly beings interbreeding with mortals threatened to corrupt humankind, according to the beliefs expressed in the book. The Book of Enoch seeks to explain how sin and corruption first entered into the world through this legendary account. Its vivid visions provide an expansive interpretation of biblical figures and events that enriched our understanding of prevailing spiritual ideologies from antiquity. The book also examines prophecies concerning future divine judgment and redemption. It depicts Enoch's celestial travels during which he learns mystical revelations directly from archangels. Through Enoch's guided tours of the heavens, the workings of the cosmos are explored alongside angelic hierarchies and supernatural topics not found in the Bible's canonical texts. In doing so, the Book of Enoch offers a rare and thought-provoking perspective on scriptural narratives from an early time in religious history. For centuries, the complete text of the Book of Enoch was believed to be lost to history, with only fragments surviving into modern times. That changed with one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd boy was searching for his lost sheep among the caves overlooking the Dead Sea. Wandering through one of the caverns, he came upon a stunning find: clay jars filled with ancient manuscripts preserved in the dry desert conditions. Known as the Dead Sea Scrolls, these writings dated back almost 2,000 years and included some of the oldest extant versions of biblical texts. Buried there since the 1st century AD, the scrolls had lain dormant, keeping their long-hidden secrets intact. Among the trove of documents were multiple surviving copies of the Book of Enoch, attributed to around the 1st century BC. This confirmed much of the book's content, bringing it back to the attention of scholars after it had been excluded from consideration as a religious authority for canonization. The discovery spurred renewed academic interest in analyzing the full Book of Enoch. Its inclusion amidst the important biblical and apocryphal scrolls at Qumran suggested it held greater significance to ancient Jewish sects than previously believed. Finding the Dead Sea Scrolls ensured the Book of Enoch would regain prominence as a window into the theological dialogue and religious diversity of the era. It provided invaluable access to an influential text that had mostly been lost to history prior to this astonishing discovery in the 1940s. The Enigma of Enoch. The Book of Enoch transports readers on a mystical journey, recounting the revelations that Enoch received during his trips to the heavenly realm. Through vivid first-person accounts, it describes Enoch's otherworldly experiences and the cosmic truths that were divinely shared with him. According to the text, Enoch was chosen by God to serve as a messenger and was granted access to the celestial spheres normally hidden from mortal eyes. During his visits to the heavens, Enoch witnessed angelic orders and their duties, gaining unique insight into the organization of the spiritual world. He observed the archangels, governing the stars and seasons from God's throne room. The book provides the names and ranks of numerous angels, along with glimpses of the ethereal vistas traversed across the skies. Perhaps most intriguing are Enoch's encounters with the Nephilim, the monstrous offspring resulting from the supposed union of fallen angels and human women that so transgressed God's natural laws of creation. Through his prophetic journeys, Enoch also learns secrets of the cosmos, such as its precise dimensions and organization. The text describes a spherical Earth suspended in space and surrounded by concentric rings of stars, planets, and heavens. Such conceptions would be remarkably advanced for the era. Upon Enoch's return to Earth, he shares his revelations and warnings to humanity. The Book of Enoch brings these supernatural travels to life, immersing readers in the same visions that initiated Enoch into the deepest mysteries of the divine realm. Prophecies. Throughout his journeys across the heavenly realm, one of the most important things Enoch recounted was prophecies. One of the most prominent prophecies revealed to Enoch during his journeys to heaven concerned divine judgment that would befall rebellious angels known as the Watchers. According to the Book of Enoch, these were celestial beings commanded by God to observe humanity from the heavens. However, 200 angels led by Samiaza fell from their holy station by descending to earth and intermingling with mortal women. Through their unnatural union, giant hybrid creatures called Nephilim were born who turned to evil ways. Furthermore, the fallen Watchers went beyond mere fraternization by teaching forbidden arts to mankind, corrupting humanity with knowledge previously restricted to the higher realms. For their transgressions, Enoch warns that God has decreed these angels will pay a heavy price, to be locked in gloomy subterranean prisons until the final day of reckoning. During his prophetic vision, Enoch witnesses the angels bound and confined to the depths of an ominous desert wasteland. There they are to await eternal punishment for leading humans astray and violating the natural order decreed by their Creator. This dramatic tale serves as a cautionary message about overstepping divine limits and the severe consequences of polluting mankind with illicit wisdom. It also delves into the notion of demonic spirits and giants originating from a primeval rebellion of heavenly beings. In addition to foretelling punishment of the fallen Watchers, the Book of Enoch also has Enoch receive ominous predictions from God regarding future tribulations that would befall humanity itself due to widespread sin and corruption on earth. Through prophetic visions granted by divine insight, Enoch bore witness to periods of intense affliction that mankind would bring upon itself by turning away from righteous living. The book describes how Enoch saw coming a time of turmoil, conflict, and death spanning generations as morality declined. Nations would rise up against each other in an era of turmoil. Within families, brother would turn against brother due to growing lawlessness, selfishness, and absence of love. Throughout the lands would spread a plague of murder, suggesting a blurring of moral boundaries, leaving no life sacred. Amid the visions of societies crumbling from within under the weight of individual and collective evils, Enoch saw the earth itself responding in kind. Nature became imbalanced, with droughts and famines compounding mankind's suffering as if the very ground had lost its fertility. The heavens too reflected mortals' fate, unleashing calamities like floods, earthquakes, and other disasters proportionate to humanity's fall from grace. One of the most chilling predictions revealed to Enoch was God's intention to unleash a catastrophic global flood that would wipe the earth clean of the rampant corruption and violence plaguing humankind. During his travels, Enoch was led to a lofty mountain where he gazed in horror upon a terrifying vision of endless torrential rains and surging floodwaters. The prophet saw all of creation submerged beneath the deluge as it engulfed the highest peaks and swallowed every living thing beneath the churning waves. Through divine sight, he bore witness to the annihilation of all mortal and animal life across the entire planet. Only a select few would be spared by the supreme power that had lost all patience with humanity's depraved rebellion against its creator. As the lone observer of this apocalyptic scene, Enoch wept at the calamity to come that would end so many lives. Yet he understood it had become necessary for God to purge the earth in his justice and start anew. as mankind had long ignored prior warnings through more benign messengers. When Enoch returned to his own time, he relayed to all who would heed his words the impending doom foretold if the people did not turn back to righteousness. He begged them to repent of evil and find favor in God's eyes again through prayer and amended hearts, so that the divine wrath may turn to mercy. But for most, the prophecy went unheeded until the ominous clouds began to gather on the horizon. One of Enoch's most profound visions foretold events still in the distant future, the final destiny of all humankind following the end of days. Through mystical sight granted by his heavenly guides, Enoch witnessed scenes of resurrection and judgment that would come to pass when God brings history to its close. He saw the righteous souls of the deceased rising gloriously from their graves, reuniting bodies and spirits to become whole once more. Radiant and immortal, they rejoiced to enter eternal life in paradise. But for others, a much grimmer fate awaited their past sins and denial of the divine path. The prophet looked upon the condemned facing a lake of blazing fire and torment. Here God's justice would be served, with anguished souls burning for their rejection of mercy while alive. Enoch learned that prior deeds would be thoroughly examined, and an absolute accounting given for each small act, whether good or evil. Nothing would be hidden or excused in that fearsome reckoning. These visions taught that death does not end one's existence, but begins an unending tomorrow, either in tranquil reward or unrelenting punishment, as befits each individual's free choices in the fleeting time of life. Through Enoch, God pulled back the veil upon the grand finale of history and final destinations of all people, revealing a profound message of accountability, redemption, and the eternal impact of transient mortal years. The fallen angels and the Nephilim. The Book of Enoch describes how a group of angels, led by Samiah, committed a grave sin that forever altered the course of humanity. These angels, also known as Watchers, had been appointed by God to observe mankind from heaven. However, Samiah and roughly 200 other Watchers decided to abandon their heavenly duties when they became enamored by the beauty of human women. Defying God's natural laws, the rebellious Watchers descended to Mount Hermon, where they took human wives and began intermingling physically with mankind. Their unholy union resulted in the creation of Nephilim, which were giant hybrid beings born of the forbidden relationship between angels and women. The Nephilim were prodigiously strong and large in size, yet they did not uphold divine virtues. Instead, they turned to wickedness and freely indulged evil inclinations. They oppressively ruled over humans and soon corrupted all mortal souls with their depraved ways. The Book of Enoch states that when God witnessed these monstrous creatures and the ruin they brought, he regretted creating sentient life. For the first time, profound sin and darkness had contaminated the earth through the actions of the fallen Watchers. Their transgression not only defied holy will, but also disrupted the natural order of separate realms for angels and humanity. The Book of Enoch provides further details about the consequences of the Watchers' betrayal. It describes how these fallen angels began instructing humans in skills like weapon crafting, cosmetics, spellwork, and other occult knowledge previously exclusive to heavenly beings. By sharing secrets meant only for themselves, the Watchers completely corrupted the primitive human societies they were supposed to guide righteously. As humans flourished with this illicit wisdom, their hearts turned from God. Vanity, violence, and lawlessness spread across the lands. Men began to see themselves as powerful as the angels, neglecting their Creator. Women used their newfound beauty techniques to seduce with vanity rather than modesty. Families dissolved and people harmed each other for profit or pleasure, no longer respecting basic moral conduct. The Book of Enoch says God was grieved to see what became of the humanity he had invested with potential for good. However, in his omniscience, he had long foreseen this rebellion and its outcomes. So when the appointed time came, he unleashed the great flood to wipe the contaminated earth clean while sparing righteous Noah and his family. This cataclysm ended both the Nephilim giants born of corrupted angel-human unions, as well as the depraved cultures the Watchers had led mankind to establish. The angels themselves faced imprisonment until the final judgment awaiting all souls. Thus, through divine wrath and mercy, God restored the natural order and removed the stain of immorality from his creation at its root. The Book of Enoch continues to describe the fate of the fallen angels known as Watchers. After their imprisonment, Enoch realized that they remain bound in the remote desert wastelands until the final day. There they writhe in anguish, cursing their actions that led to such a fate. Yet their torment has only begun. Enoch's visions show him 4 hollow valleys, so vast they cannot see across to the other side. Within these gloom-filled valleys, the Watchers are confined under mountains of stone. The text relates how their faces become completely blackened by divine wrath burning within them. On the final day of judgment, when all souls stand accountable before God, the Watchers will face their harshest punishment. Archangel Michael will extract them from their subterranean cells and haul them before the Lord of Spirits. There, a book of their sins will be read detailing every transgression committed in thought and deed. No excuses or repentance will soften their charges. The Watchers will be cast into an eternal fire, suffering complete destruction of body and soul. Their ashes will be kept under rocks at the bottom of the valley as a just reminder of consequences for corrupting God's creation. Through this grim prophecy, Enoch warns all heavenly and earthly beings that none are beyond accountability to the Almighty. No sin or sinner escapes ultimate judgment. Not even these mighty angels could escape their punishment, no matter how lofty their station has been in the past. All must answer for straying from divinely designed purpose and morality. The 7 heavens. According to the Book of Enoch, when God took him on a journey through the heavenly realms, the first place he was brought was the first heaven. As Enoch entered this celestial sphere, he was filled with awe at the marvels he witnessed. All around him shone thousands of lights that far outshone anything on earth. These were the stars that populated the first heaven. Enoch saw they were ordered in their paths through the sky by great angels. These angelic beings glowed with splendor and carried out their duties, moving the starry hosts across the heavens. As Enoch watched, he noticed how precisely the stars followed their courses, never varying off their ordained routes. He realized this was how God maintained harmony in the celestial spheres. Beyond the stars, Enoch observed fierce winds blowing between the heavens. Yet these were under control, keeping each heaven in its place. He also noticed swift lights, greater than any on earth, their number too many to count. These were the myriads upon myriads of angels that filled the first heaven, each one praising God for his works. The Book of Enoch states their voices resounded like rushing waters, yet sounded sweeter than any music of man. Their appearance was more radiant than the sun and inspired awe in Enoch. Through it all shone the vault of the sky, a glorious canopy arching over all. Enoch was left in wonder at the splendors of this, the lowest of the heavenly realms, ordained by the Creator. When Enoch passed through the gates of the first heaven, he was taken even higher to the second celestial realm. As he arrived, he bore witness to marvels far surpassing the first. Enoch saw that this heaven contained innumerable luminous stars, far more than what hung in the first heaven below. Their light blazed brighter, and their beauty left him in awe. He gazed upon structures of purest crystal stretching further than the eye could see. Within these gleaming towers resided angelic beings whose radiance put the stars to shame. Their faces shone whiter than snow and garments dazzled like the sun. When these heavenly beings caught sight of Enoch, they sang praises with voices like a rushing torrent, yet also melodic beyond any harp. The Book of Enoch states that in the midst of the second heaven's glories stood an immense tree, unlike anything on earth. Its leaves and blossoms were perpetually in bloom, and its fruit never fell from its boughs. It gave life to all things, and its fragrance spread for endless leagues. Around the tree fluttered angelic figures, protecting it from any harm. When Enoch's celestial escort brought him to the gates of the third heaven, he braced himself for sights even more radiant. As he passed through, a light beyond the noonday sun engulfed him. All around endlessly stretched a pure sea of liquid brilliance, gleaming like molten gold. Within this shimmering expanse shone orbs of light, greater than the entire first heaven, suspended by fine filaments. As Enoch's eyes adjusted, he saw these orbs were in fact vast angelic forms, praising God in voices resonating like thunder yet harmonious as a lyre. Their faces shone brighter than the sun, and their hands swept clouds of light across the heavens. Trailing behind them were hymns which Enoch could hear though they were beyond measure distant. Floating amid this dazzling sea, Enoch spied a fragrant tree, far larger than the one in the second heaven. Its boughs arched farther than sight and were laden with a profusion of blossoms and fruits, their juice flowing like gems and pearls. Beside the tree fluttered winged creatures who sang a new song at each circuit about it. The Book of Enoch states the tree was called the Tree of Wisdom and sustained all life. Its beauty and scent filled Enoch with joy and peace beyond any earthly knowledge. Yet he knew this was merely the halfway point to the highest glories God had prepared for the righteous in the eternal kingdom. Enoch's soul burst with longing to glimpse what further marvels lay in the heavens above. When Enoch passed into the fourth heaven, he was stunned by wonders more majestic than below. An expanse stretched to infinite horizons, lit by orbs so immense their light outshone the sun 1,000-fold. These were the mighty angels who governed this realm, praising God without ceasing. Their voices rang through the heavens in perfect unison, sweet as harp yet loud as many waters. Before them floated instruments of light, played by unseen hands, adding beauty to their hymns. As Enoch watched, the angels began circling a tree grander than any below, its boughs heavy with gems, gold, and pearls. This, Enoch learned, was the tree of life sustaining all existence. Its scent brought profound peace and joy filling his whole being. Beside it fluttered angelic figures bearing crowns made of stars, which they placed on the tree as offerings of praise. The tree shone with such radiance Enoch had to shield his eyes. When Enoch passed into the gates of the fifth heaven, a light so brilliant enveloped him that he had to shade his eyes. As they adjusted, sights of unimaginable splendor stretched in every direction. Great stars hung so close they seemed within arm's reach, their brilliance eclipsing the sun. Yet even they paled beside the angels who governed this realm. Their forms blazed brighter than myriad suns combined, their faces too radiant to behold directly. Glorious wings arched from their shoulders, bearing eyes of flaming light. As they praised God, rivers of living fire flowed from their lips in a language sweeter than all music. Before them floated thrones hewn from crystals that shot forth streams of colored light. Beside a tree larger than worlds, set with gems that outshone stars, Enoch spied an angelic figure crowned with rays of suns. This, his guide explained, was God's favored archangel, bearing a scepter of dominion over all realms. Around the tree fluttered angelic birds whose plumage was formed of eyes that peered into the heart of all things. Beyond stretched an ocean vaster than thought. Its waves created music as they lapped shores of adamant and gold. Upon this sea glided vessels carved from single pearls, guided by pilots of unfading glory. All around soared winged beings praising works too wonderful for words. Truly, Enoch knew he had glimpsed a paradise beyond dreams. When Enoch passed into the sixth heaven, a light assailed his eyes brighter than 1,000 suns. All was aglow with a radiance soft yet penetrating everywhere. As his vision adjusted, Enoch saw before him an angelic host so glorious his mind could scarce comprehend their splendor. Their forms shone translucent, within glowing streams and whirlpools of living light. Wings arched from their shoulders, bearing eyes that peered into the depths of creation. As they sang him sweeter than all harmonies, galaxies swirled within their raiment like colored mists. Before them floated thrones hewn from unfading stars that shot forth musical rays. Beside a tree grander than worlds, its boughs heavy with fruits whose scent brought profound joy, Enoch saw an angelic figure crowned with a diadem where shone representations of all things. This, his guide proclaimed, was God's own throne, bearing his ineffable name. Around it fluttered angels, formed of sparks from the mind of the Almighty. When Enoch passed through the gates of the sixth heaven, A light blazed around him, far surpassing all that came before. He had to close his eyes, for they could not bear such radiance. When he opened them again, wonders beyond words stood unveiled. Great stars hung so close they seemed within reach, yet paled against the angels governing this realm. Their forms shone translucent as molten glass, within swirling colors and melodies. Wings arched from their shoulders, bearing eyes that contained whole universes. As they sang him sweeter than any music, Enoch glimpsed the mind of God himself. Beside an immense tree set with fruits whose scent brought joy and peace, he saw a glorious throne hewn from living fire. Upon it sat a being whose radiance eclipsed all, crowned with a blaze of glories too wondrous for eyes of flesh. This, Enoch knew, was the Lord of all, before whom even the highest angels veiled their faces in worship. Beyond, vistas unfolded too vast and splendid for thoughts to hold. Great seas swelled with melodies as waves caressed shores of pure light. Upon this deep glided vessels of fire, guided by beings whose splendor outshone the noonday sun. All around soared angels, weaving praises to mirror the wonder of their creator. At last Enoch knew he had glimpsed the heart of creation, source of all beauty, wisdom, and power. Yet even in this highest of heavens, he realized God's full glory was still beyond all comprehension. While the Book of Enoch is an ancient non-canonical text, its provocative contents have profound relevance for our modern world and raise critical questions about the future of humanity. At its core, the book presents an alternate cosmology and history of our universe, one shaped by a primordial celestial rebellion and ongoing cosmic battle between holy and unholy supernatural forces. Rather than evil originating solely from human weakness, it suggests our plane was deliberately tainted by the interference of fallen angels who continue subtly misleading mankind. In this light, the Book of Enoch provides a framework for understanding the persistent existence of greed, exploitation, injustice, and inhumanity despite our societal and technological progress over millennia. It implies we are unknowingly trapped in a spiritual war between agencies aligned with enlightenment and those determined to keep us mired in darkness. Only then can we transcend the shackles of our corrupt, contested past and realize the gloried future awaiting humanity as stewards and co-creators of a loving, peaceful, enlightened cosmos. The choice has never been more critical: to remain entrapped as pawns in a fallen angelic rebellion, or to heroically reascend the intelligences of eternal light from which we were born. So, that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel for more fascinating videos like this one. Click the video on your screen. You won't believe it. It's so amazing.